What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video we'll be taking another look at my collection. Today we'll be taking a look at my fleet of Airbus A330s. I had to do this a couple times because, as per usual with these My Collection videos, I end up forgetting one or two models when I'm setting this up, and in this case it was the Lufthansa, it was one of the A330-300s there on the far left, because when I was checking my MADB database, I had 13 listed in there, but I then realized that I was missing one, even though I had a complete set. But it turns out because I didn't have one of them in my collection on both my spreadsheet and the MADB database, which I used my spreadsheet to build that MADB collection. You can go check it out using the link in the description. But yeah, so it created that confusion initially, but thankfully we do have all of the A330s in my collection here. So I've got 14 of them, which I'm very surprised by that my A330 fleet is as big as it is. We have 3 A330-200s, there's one A330-800neo, and then I have 5 A330-300s and 5 A330-900neos. So a good mix of North American or European aircraft in this case. That really is just the consensus with this fleet, is it's either from North America or it's from Europe. I would love to add a Northwest example. That is in my plans to get at some point, but we'll definitely add that when the opportunity comes. But for now, we'll enjoy the current A330 fleet, and we'll start off with the first one that I ever got, which was the Swiss International Airlines A330-200 in the old livery. This I got in Easter 2013, and this was like a 2004 or so release. It was the mid-2000s when Gemini Jets had the Gemini Jets 2 branding, when they were introducing all these new molds and updating their existing ones, and this was one of the new types that they introduced, I believe, because I don't think they had the A330 prior to like 2004 or 2003, whenever this was released. So I think this is one of their first A330s that they ever made, but I could be wrong on that. And then moving on down, we have the Delta A330-200. This is the 2014 release from Gemini Jets, and I got this in the Christmas of 2020. This was my first A330 ad in like 7 years, over 7 years actually. And then right below that, I have my first NG A330, which is this national example. And I remember getting this because Sioux Falls actually got this exact aircraft, November 819er Charlie Alpha. They got that in, I think it was the spring of 21, I believe, which is right around the time I was filming Massive Unboxing number 8. So I decided to get this, but the retailer that I ordered this from, they didn't have it in stock, so they had to get it from another place, which I'd actually coincidentally placed an order with already. So that was a very interesting scenario. But I was really fortunate to get this, and as compensation, the retailer that didn't send out this model initially, they sent a couple free models as compensation, and you'll see one of them later in the video. And also, funnily enough, too, with the National, before I move on, they now actually have a second one, November, I think it's 818 Charlie Alpha. And it's an all-white one, which is, when I went to Orlando last fall, I actually saw it parked there as I landed on the Silver ATR from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando. So that was pretty cool to see the other National A330. So technically, I've seen both now, which is really cool. And I also got to see their 7.5 parked on the ramp as well. Then we move to my first A330neo that I ever got, which is this house livery A330-800neo by Phoenix. And this type isn't very popular. I think only Kuwait and Uganda Airlines are the only operators of this type to my knowledge. I think there might be one or two others, but those are the only two I know of off the top of my head. I know NG released Uganda example. I think Phoenix may have done the Kuwait example, but I'm just going off memory right now. But I know for sure the Uganda one has been done by NG here. But this is a very lovely Phoenix livery, and I remember getting this alongside the A300 house livery. I thought about getting this one, and I was like, it looks cool, so why not get it? Don't have too many house liveries in my collection, so it's one of only a few that I have. Now I move into the A330-300s, and this is the Lufthansa example that I sort of hinted at earlier in the video towards the start. This I got in the Christmas of 2020 when I did my my second actual Christmas massive unboxing, or third, because I've done it since 2018 every year. So very fortunate to have been in that position to do it, and I hope to continue doing it later on down the line. But this new livery, Lufthansa, this is the first of the new liveries that I got in my collection. Now I've got a 787 and an A350 to go along with it. And hoping to add, I actually have the 744 as well, so can't forget that. And hopefully I'll be able to add more, like a 748 and even the 777X when they get those in a few years, which hopefully it's a few years because they keep delaying that. Then we move to this Aer Lingus example. This is the first with the other engine type in this case, because those were the Rolls-Royce Trents. These are either like the General Electric or Pratt & Whitney engine variant. So this is the more round engine that they have on it. This is the first that I got of it from Gemini Jets, and I got this right about the same time as I did with that A330 Neo, the 800 Neo, as well. Very nice, and I haven't used it yet in Airport Update. Yeah, I haven't used it in an Airport Update, I don't think, just yet, but yeah, I've done so many Airport Updates, so it's hard to recall exactly if I've used it in an Airport Update. Then we move to this free model. This is the one that I got as compensation because I didn't get the National on time. This is the KLM A330-300 100th anniversary sticker by Phoenix, and yeah, this is really cool to get. This, as I said, has a 100th anniversary sticker, so it's not exactly relevant nowadays, and it has the older livery, so it doesn't have the little swoop underneath the cockpit windows. And they actually did extend it recently. The A321neo reflects on that, and I think they are updating the rest of their fleet as well. So, love to add an updated KLM livery at some point, but we'll address that later. Then we move to this wonderful NG Delta A330-300. So I've got both of the A330 variants, the regulars, not the Neos. I'll have to see if I can find one of the NG Neos that they do something of my interest that I don't have yet. But this is the first release that they did in like 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. I got it Christmas of 21. That was a fun unboxing to do. And then this is my latest A330-300, this Discover example. This airline was previously known as Eurowings, and then they rebranded to like a hybrid branding with Eurowings Discover, and now they've just become Discover. And ironically enough, they have the colors of Visa, like the credit card and all that. Visa's is blue and yellow, and the Discover is more like an orange and like dark purple or whatever. I don't know the exact colors, but I find that kind of ironic, and I always like to reference that every now and again whenever the airline gets brought up in a conversation. So I think it's very interesting, but the livery itself looks really cool. Minneapolis is actually going to get this starting in May, since Lufthansa, they don't have enough 787s. I think they've got some maintenance issues or something. So Discover, rather, is going to fill in that void, at least until they can get the 789s fully operational again. And then this is the first A330neo that I ever got. The Delta Team USA, I remember when they announced this in 2021, and I saw the Mercari listing that got leaked in the spring of 22, so I knew that there was a model of it out there, but it took nearly a year for this to get an official announcement on the Delta Team USA shop. But I think getting the licensing from the International Olympic Committee, and that's probably why there was such a delay in this being available for purchase. But whatever the case was, I was really happy that they did do this, and eventually everyone else did it much later, obviously unlicensed, but as you know, I don't really care about it too much, but the IOC certainly does, and, these manufacturers, they've really found a way to get around these legalities with licensing and all that, but that's a very complicated endeavor to explore, and it's certainly a topic for, another time. I'd love to explore that, but, I'm no legal expert, I'm no lawyer or anything, so I can't really properly explain it without, having that kind of disclaimer on there. But at any rate, we continue, and we're still chugging along with Gemini Jets, as we've got this regular livery Delta. I got this at the 2023 MSP Airline Collectible Show, and been fortunate enough to spot quite a few of these now in Minneapolis, and seriously thought we were going to get one in Sioux Falls. It was the summer of 23, late summer. I thought they had sent one to divert here to Sioux Falls because of storms, but they were able to get it into Minneapolis once the storms passed. But I don't know what we would have done if we had a jet this big divert here. We've never had a diversion for an international flight, at least to my knowledge. Maybe it's happened once or twice before, but it hasn't been documented. And if so, I've never come across it. But it would be very cool to receive one of these one day, but maybe not at the inconvenience of hundreds of other passengers. They moved to this Condor. This is the green or like island livery, I think is the official name. This is the Gemini release, and I know JC Wings, they've done a couple of the other colors, because there's like a red and a blue, and there's a gold one out there as well, and they each have different names. And I saw I think it was a blue one in Miami last fall, so very fortunate to have spotted one of those finally, and I was hoping to spot one in Minneapolis when I went there last summer, but they weren't flying on any of the days that I went there, because I went there twice in like a 3-week span, but neither day that I went, they were flying there. But now we move on to this next A330neo. This one I did spot in Miami as well. This is the ITA Airways, and this is released by Gemini Jets, my first ITA aircraft. I did have the Alitalia 777-300ER, but as you know, I sold that to Connor, so he's got that model now, so I do have this airline back in my collection since, it's not really the same entity anymore. It's a different airline and all that, but either way, this is a really nice model, and I'm very happy to have it, and I've also spotted it in Miami. And that's the case for the last A330neo that we have here, this Virgin Atlantic. And this is released by Phoenix Models, because I couldn't find the Gemini one. I didn't find it until after I put together my Christmas list. So this is the one that I got, and I'm actually pretty happy with this, because I don't have a Phoenix Neo yet, or the 900 Neo anyway, because I obviously have the House Livery 800 up over there, but I didn't have the 900 yet, so happy to have one of those now and have a nice diversification of brands with regards to the A330. So that's my full collection of this type, and it's, again, really surprising that I have as many as I do, 14 in total, including the Neos. If you were to take the Neos out, that would still leave me with, was it 8? So it does make up more than half of my fleet of the regular, and then the Neos are not far behind. As I said, I'd love to add like a Northwest example, the final livery. I know that there's some concept art with the bowling shoe, because they did order them back when that was their main livery, but they didn't get them until after they had introduced that final livery, because I think what happened was they had originally ordered that alongside the A340, then they canceled those orders, and then they reordered the A330 sometime later. But by the time they got them, the final livery was already their new primary livery, so all the Northwest A330s wore those, and the Delta took the rest of them, and they've got them all now. So, this A330-300, this one by NG, this one is 806, and then this Gemini one that I have is 858, and I don't remember which numbers are the ones that were not taken up by Northwest, but they just kept the registrations consistent across the fleet. I think it's after, like with the 300s, I think it's after like 820 or something like that. Somewhere in the 82s, somewhere in there is where those are the true Delta A330s and not the legacy Northwest ones that are still floating around today. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of my collection, and super excited to continue doing this series as we move forward, and let me know what other types you want to see. We'll try to alternate between aircraft types and airlines every month, and then I'll try to throw in an occasional like updated version from an old episode of my collection that I did in the past. Like the E321 is probably the next one I'll do here when I get to an updated my collection video. So stay tuned for that. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.